What is going on, everyone? It's your guy, Cole Jackson, back here on Road Graders, continuing our journey through the Baltimore Ravens draft class here, hosted by Jimmy Seafood on the Russell Street Report. We are going to continue on into the 6th round here. The second pick in the 6th round, the Baltimore Ravens select BILHAL Kone. I got to figure out if it's Kone or Kone. Drop a comment down below. Let me know. I say Kone through this whole video. My apologize to BILHAL if I'm saying it wrong. But that's how I thought it was. So if you guys are looking forward to this breakdown, if you guys are excited to learn more about what he's going to bring to the Baltimore Ravens this year, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think and give me a little help on the pronunciation. Before we jump into it, like I said, this is brought to you by Jimmy's Famous Seafood. And this summer, they are proud to team with the Western Golf Association and Evans Scholars Foundation to present the Tailgate, the event you all know and love from Baltimore Ravens home games, driven by the BMW Championship, featuring OAR, the band which has served as a soundtrack to Jimmy's for 29 years, finally comes home this summer. Get in there, go enjoy it on June 28th. So let's dive into Kone a little bit, starting with his relative athletic score. Came out with a 7.81, tested well measurement-wise. One thing that I found interesting in his height weight was he looks lean, and he's definitely a guy that needs to improve his functional strength. I talk about his tackling a little bit and how he's a little bit of a swing tackler. So seeing him come in at 190 and being kind of in that, 50th percentile relative to his peers really kind of stands out. I think we're going to want to see that weight get up closer to 200 as he adds some muscle mass. Really good 40 time. Came out with a 4.43. Definitely plays up to that speed. You'll see it in his recovery. And one thing that surprised me was some of his short area quickness scores. Decent 3-cone, almost into that 8 green range. But the shuttle wasn't very good. Not a very good vertical, but a good broad. So mixed results there. I find overall pretty smooth athlete, very instinctual football player, though. And we're going to talk a lot about that when we get into the film. And I would say when I'm looking at a 6th-round corner, give me the instinctual guy, not the athletic guy that needs to become a better football player. And when we take a look at the stats, I think, it's interesting. Only 1 credited coverage stop, only 1 interception, 2 interceptions in his career, 8 forced incompletions this year. But it's just interesting because for a guy that you'll see is so instinctual, I would have expected more ball production. He allowed 373 yards on 21 catches, 46 targets this year, a little bit of an uptick from last year, 2 games more played. You see in his 3 years ago when he transferred from Indiana State, struggled mightily. And, you can see the progress that he's made as a player there. So someone that graded out better in zone than man in terms of PFF's opinion. But you can see there the completion percentage being in the higher end, so only allowing a 45.7% completion percentage. And I think a lot of that is just a couple of bigger gains that were given up that really stacked on the yardage total. So that's kind of Kone in a nutshell, but let's dive into really what matters here, and that is the film. Jump into Kone's film here. And so what I've done is I've split this out into zone and man coverage reps, and I've seen him mostly described, I should say, as a man cover corner. And I will say, after kind of going through the film, I didn't really see a preference. I think he performs pretty well in coverage in both concepts. I think he's physical, and I think that kind of gives him that man coverage tag. But starting here with zone, I think what you'll see is these instincts and how well he reads the quarterback's eyes. I think that's his greatest strength, and so we'll see that early here in the Ohio State game. So you're going to see him drop into cover 3. You're going to get the free safety over top dropped in the middle. So he's got to drop back and hold this 1/3 of the field. Oh, I should draw that a little bigger. That 1/3 of the field there. And so you see we have double tight ends on this side, and they're going to run a double seam. And so you'll see how this plays out. He ends up with a PBU on the ball. And so you see they both run the seam, and there's Kone making a play on that ball. And so this is just such good zone defense. So he ends up in, let me move that over there. He ends up in a pretty tough situation. So as soon as the routes come off, so he's got to drop into that 1/3, and so he's got guys attacking both of his leverage points, right? Inside leverage point, he's got one tight end, and then he has a second tight end here that he can't just ignore. So if he starts to drift here, and that's what the quarterback is reading, so he's going to step back, quarterback's going to look left. If Cone starts to cheat inside, he's going to hit this backside tight end as he goes on his seam. He stays pretty neutral. That opens this up, and we'll see it from the other angle. So as that ball comes, Cone has to break on the ball and trust his ball instincts. And this is one of his greatest strengths, in my opinion, is his ability to make plays on the ball. Only had 2 interceptions, and so you're going to see right here. So he ends up with a good amount of separation, right? So from Howard's perspective, this seam is open. And so, again, the reason Cone's doing that is because that other tight end is occupying the space off camera. And so as he does it, he limits his margin for error, and he has to break on this ball. And we can see him come right up through. Right up through the catch point. And you can see the white glove of Cone get right up there into those hands coming together and knock that ball out. Beautiful, beautiful football. I find his instincts and zone coverage to be just such a great strength. Here we're going to see it again. So for the formation, because you can't see it, so they're trips, right? So there's 3 wide receivers out to the right, then you got a tight end and a running back on the weak side here. They're out to the wide side of the field. So Cone doesn't have anyone, right? So he's going to drop into zone coverage, and then you're going to get a little mesh route here with the tight end working a mesh route with the slot receiver. And as that slot receiver runs over, Cone tries to jump that, almost picks it himself, tips it up, and then the other DB on his team almost picks it. So again, showing those instincts, that ball production in zone coverage. As we move forward, I'll repeat this probably 100 times, so I'm just going to kind of preface it. The way Cone gets his head back to the ball throughout his play is truly one of the most impressive things about his game. He constantly, whether it's man or zone, has his head back to the ball, reading the quarterback's eyes, and it is such a great habit to be bringing to the National Football League. And for Ravens fans, he's the opposite of Brandon Stevens in that regard. So you're going to see him drop here. Now we're going to get 2 wide receivers stacked down at the bottom. One's going to go in motion and then run a crossing route. So right there, 11's going to go. He's going to run that crossing route. And so we are going to drop into cover 3 again. So Cone's going to carry this. And then we got the crossing route coming over. So that crossing route's trying to get in behind the 2 drops. So you got the safety that drops down. Right there, you got a safety and a linebacker. 11's trying to get over top, right? So there's 1, 2, 3 dropped in cover 3, and there's our 2 under defenders. And so he's trying to run that. Cone's being occupied, right? So this is going to be a 9 clear out route. So Cone's carrying that, but because you can't really quite see it here, his head's back to the ball the whole time. So as the quarterback goes to throw to this open receiver, cutting, look at him come off. He's going to come off. Now, I think the wide receiver actually catches this ball, to be fair. But this is very impressive for him to come off that transition, pass that off, and then pick up that crossing route. That's, again, those instincts, that ability to read and react in zone is super, super impressive. A couple more here. We were back against Wisconsin in this one. Just going to show that break on the ball. And, again, reading the quarterback's eyes, you can see as he's going to drop back, he drops into off man. He does this quite a bit. I'm going to talk about how this can sometimes be a little bit of a concern. But he's going to drop into off man zone. Again, probably cover 3. The ball comes out so fast, I'm not seeing where the other coverage routes are. But his eyes are at the quarterback. And as soon as he cocks it, so watch. As soon as he cocks it, so the arm's back, he's already making that back foot's planted, and he's starting to take that step to break on the ball. Ball's off, but he works his hand right there. You can see that as the ball would have been arriving, he works that ball right up through the catch point. Exactly what you want to see. So just instinctual, reading the quarterback's eyes, doing it so consistently. Cone's going to be right here. There's no yellow arrow on this play. And you're just going to see him again staying on top of that, on top of the route, eyes back to the ball. As the ball kind of gets thrown away, he's just on top of the receiver the whole time. Down to the bottom of your screen, you're going to see him pass off, and again, reads the quarterback so well. So this is going to turn into cover 2. So he's going to make contact here and then release the quarterback. There's your 5 across for the DBs and your 2 deep. So that's just straight up cover 2. So he's got to float that. If it ends up being a 9 route, it becomes on this safety. He's just going to float it, and he's going to focus in here because, again, the quarterback's cocked looking here, and he's going to break on the ball there. And so if that ball tips up, he's going to make a play on it. So that's not so much an impressive coverage play in terms of him making a coverage, but it's just consistently showing how he's reading the quarterback's eyes and making plays off the quarterback's decision making. Dropping in here into zone. See right here, this is what I love to see. So as he drops into the red zone, he's going to get physical, hands-on, stays on top of the route, which I'm going to talk about quite a bit with him. Eyes on the quarterback the whole time, right there. See how that head's back around? You can see a little spot in his face mask as he's looking back, staying on top of it. And again, the quarterback's going to try and throw right into here. And the ball is going to get tipped up, and Kone almost makes a play on it because he's not distracted looking at his man. He's got his eyes on the quarterback. He's got his eyes on the ball throughout the whole play. So even if something's happening on a different coverage player or on a receiver that he's not specifically covering, he can react to the ball being thrown. So just does this so consistently. I can't emphasize that enough. It was so refreshing to see. Definitely the best aspect of his game. He's going to drop here. And so here we're dropping into zone, and he's got to feel this zone out, right? So we're going to get 4 here breaking a little bit, and you're going to see him break down on that ball. Ends up getting thrown away, but again, that awareness. So he's dropped here. There's no receiver near him. Under here with another DB. So he's going to go find work, for lack of a better word, and he breaks on that in case the ball gets thrown that way. He's also reacting to the quarterback throwing to that side of the field, but again, consistently reacting to what the quarterback's doing. Back against Ohio State here. You can see here, back in cover 2. So we got our 2 deep safeties. So again, he's just got to float this zone. He's got this coverage zone, and he's just going to pass this off. So like I said, if that receiver is going to run deep, becomes this safety's responsibility. See him coming over, and then he's going to pass that off and then step up here. Ends up floating a little bit as 22 comes over. Their coverage just rolled. So just, again, consistently passing off zone coverage, doing a very good job while doing it. He's going to follow here, and I think he's supposed to be in cover 3. The tight end tripping here, I think he stops. It might be some sort of cover man match, but you're going to get this slot receiver jet, right? And so he's jetting away from, he's kind of cutting through the under part of the middle cover 3 zone, and he's going this way into Kone's cover 3, and you see him jet on the burners to get back. And so the ball is underthrown, and he pulls that ball away. Now, to be fair, good recovery here to get back. If this ball isn't underthrown, very well could be 6. So, it just begs the question of whether or not this was man match or zone match, where he stays on this tight end and you see him slow up there. And that little skip step is what opens it up here for the receiver to break. But good recovery. You can see that 4.43 speed, and finds the ball as the ball lands in. Now we get into his man coverage reps again. He's been described a lot as a man cover corner, so that's other people's scouting reports. So if you put a lot of weight into those, definitely pair that with what I'm about to show you. But like I said, I thought he performed really well. Those zone coverage reps I just showed you, definitely a few oopsies in there, no doubt about it. Like I said, we just looked at the last one there, but some things that he's going to have to clean up at the next level. But in man coverage, very solid as well. So you're going to see him at the top of your screen here. He's going to stay on top of this. And then right there, you see that face mask come back, eye back to the ball. So he's going to step up, jam. There, he turns and runs. Now, this is the Brandon Stevens thing. Super tight coverage, back to the ball. What happens here, see that head just opened up, back to the ball. Now he's tracking and running. And you can see he's about a half step behind. There's a red jersey in front of him. Watch how Kone passes him. Head back to the ball, and you see him catch up to him hip on hip. So a lot of that is from him turning, reacting, running while he's reacting, seeing where the ball is going, and then chasing the ball. Having that type of athleticism, that 4.43 speed, shows up in that type of play where he just gets into a sprint and he ends up passing the distance of the player he's covering. So and you're going to see his speed again here. Rare slot rep. So he's going to be, they got trips to the left. He's going to be the inner slot player, and he's just going to chase a crossing route here, a deep crosser. And you're going to see that speed. So right there, crosser goes, and he's going to close the speed. And just that's the type of 4.43 speed you see from this kid. Super, super impressive. Against Bowling Green here. Now, this is one thing you're going to see right before the snap. You see him, he drops into a soft release, which is fine, but I feel like too often there's a little bit too much of a gap. We'll look at a couple more reps here in a minute. And so these slant reps become a little bit of a tough one. Like, he's given up a couple of them on his film, and I just think he doesn't need to give that big of a cushion. That's something I think the Ravens are going to fix with him. But you see nice little reaction here. Again, that eyes on the ball. The receiver just does a really good job at using his body here, catching that ball away from his body. What I'd like to see from Kone a little bit better here. You can see he's over top on the outside arm here, being tighter to that back hip so he can play that backside hand here up through the catch point is, when he stays in phase and gets that hand up through, I think that would be a lot more solid. You're going to see a good example here of where I think, again, he's playing to it. See, he's taking steps back. You're in the red zone. You're only 10 yards out. Why are we playing off man here? And so that slant goes right under. And again, so that to me is the one area in man where I think he's got to fix things. So just to watch these two in successive. So there he didn't take, that's just a soft release, not giving a cushion. But down here in the red zone, I just don't think we need to give that much room. Good reaction again, but it's pretty much the same rep over where he's over top of the receiver, not tight enough to that back hip so that he can play through the catch point. He has to kind of play over top, and that's where he can get into penalty issues. So that's one of those things that I think he'll have to clean up at the next level. But then tons of solid man cover reps here. So here we're going to play against Wisconsin again. See the nice read and react. And again, awareness around him. Ball's going to go to number 8. You see Kone reading that, and then he's going to step up and make a tackle. Obviously, always want to see that. Thought his tackling ability was pretty good, at least in the games I watched. Here we're back against Ohio State. Here we're just going to see him run, and again, he's going to run, and then right here, flip that head. See how he gets that head back around to see? And he's just kind of... It seems like the difference between him and a Brandon Stevens that we saw last year was just... when he turns to look at the ball, he's still got a good feel for where the receiver is that he's covering. So he's not losing that awareness of his man. He's getting his head back around to get the awareness of the ball while maintaining his awareness of his man. He just does a really good job of finding that balance. Down in the red zone here, staying on top, head back around. Again, just another solid rep. His man coverage is definitely sticky. You can see right here. See a little short area transition, so he's going to open that hip with inside leverage. The receiver's going to run like one of those quick little out routes, and you see him flip his hips, come back inside. So I find in short area quickness, I think he's okay. I've seen him just described as a little bit stiff. I haven't really seen that on his tape, to be completely honest with you. Right here, nice and physical, hands-on. And again, what did we just talk about? So the receiver that gets targeted is going to be the slot right here. So he's going to come across. Kone's over here playing. That back is to the or that head is to the ball. As the receiver comes back, he's going to read that ball coming here, and he's going to make a play on the ball and knock that out. Now, to be fair, his man almost catches it, but that was an easy completion to the crossing route, and he ends up disrupting it pretty easily. So again, that awareness and that ball production, definitely one of those things that I think will transition pretty well. Another good carry route here. This one, he does just kind of lose it at the end. This was almost like, reminded me of the safety from Denver on the Joe Flacco Mile High Miracle. Like, this ball was just kind of lobbed up. You can see how high it goes, and he just kind of loses track of it. So almost a catch by the receiver, but I thought he played this pretty well. It seems like he misjudges where the ball goes in the air. So again, something just to kind of keep an eye at. I find in man coverage, he's able to stay sticky. He had a good pairing of long speed and short area quickness. I think that'll help him. Looks like a complete corner to me. I think he can play any coverage, and he can definitely play outside, which is what the Ravens wanted. Now, when we take a look at his run defense, we can get into a couple of these pieces. He's on the left side of the field. Yeah, he's on the left side of the field here. So you're going to get two pullers here from Bowling Green coming out. He's got to set the edge, and this is something I think he does really well. First of all, I don't know if I'd describe him as physical, but I will describe him as fearless. So that right guard's going to come out, and that's going to be the first guy. So right here, he's going to come out, and his whole job is to kick out Cone. And so Cone, rather than getting, swallowed up here and then getting sealed and giving that edge, he's got to set this edge hard. And so what he does is he takes a step out there, hands on, and that forces that running back to cut back where his teammates can tackle him. So, that pulling guard, he could have stayed inside to limit the contact, but he went right into the pulling path to set that edge. And I think that's something he does consistently very well. Cone's going to be here. Wisconsin's in their typical heavy alignment. They got 3 tight ends in. And so you're going to see him stay on that backside. So this is just going to be, they're trying to run a little bit of that option concept. It's going to be a zone read and then that cut back here. And Cone just right there. See how well he plays that? So again, doesn't get sucked up, doesn't get sucked inside. He knows he has to seal this edge. He's going to do that and then make a tackle on the ball. So I find he sets the edge really well. Nice low to the ground again. Here he's going to get a tight end and an alignment on him. See him step out here. So again, he's not getting sucked up. Some of these DBs tend to get stuck here, try and play it back to the inside. He knows what he needs to do. So he's going to reposition himself, take a full step right there and set that edge and then make the tackle. That's something that I get really impressed with some of these kids. One of the thing I did notice of plays like this in the open field, I'd like to see him with a little bit more of an aggressive tackling style. You can see him there. He kind of over pursues, and then just kind of a swing tackler. That's how I describe his tackling. Either he's diving at feet like we've seen in those early ones, but in the open field, he's a bit of a swing tackler. He's going to be right here. Instincts are really good. You can see him position himself. He's going to once again step outside to secure that edge. In case Henderson's going to cut that, he's going to keep it inside. Then Cone comes back in right there. So again, that kind of diving at the feet, tackling style. Cone is right here. So they're going to run a reverse. See him right there. Just I just want to see him a little bit more physical on the ball. But again, he's going to position himself outside, make sure that edge is secured, force that ball back because he's got all of his teammates here, even though one's on the ground. But I want to see a little bit more physicality as a tackler rather than kind of the swing style. Here you're going to see him come across, dive at the feet. But again, holds that backside edge and then explodes to the ball. So it's not a physicality. It's not a lack of want, that's for sure. He plays his role extremely well. He sets that hard edge as a DB, takes on linemen as pullers, takes on tight ends, no issue. It's just more when he becomes a tackler, you want to see a little bit more physicality. So there, see him kind of hold that backside and then jump up. Let's go wrap up. So there we go. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty excited about this kid. As far as a 6th-round pick goes, I really don't see why he fell so far. I do think the big piece was some of the statistical pieces behind his performance and the lack of ball production being one of the major reasons. One of the things I did like is he had very good games against Ohio State and Wisconsin. I always love seeing these guys having bigger games against the Power 5 schools. Just shows the compete level. He's a kid that just works his ass off every play. He's a guy that competes at a high level. And again, it's the instincts with me. I think that is the area. And I mean, it's not that, to be clear, it's not that he's not athletic. Like, it's not that he's got slow feet. It's not that. It's just he is an instinctual football player. And when we're talking about late round guys, they're either athletes that need to become better football players or they're football players that are a little bit limited. And I think you're getting a nice little hybrid of both with Cone. And so I'm excited to see how they can develop him. And I think he's in a good position where he doesn't have to play right away. He'll get a couple years to kind of develop, probably see some snaps maybe late this year. And we can really see what we got in this kid. Before we wrap up, just a reminder, Jimmy's Chips, go get them. They look delicious. Boardwalk, crab dip, Luke's blend. You can't do better than that. Thank you to Jimmy's for sponsoring this episode here on the Russell Street Report today. And as always, be good to yourselves, be good to each other. Peace out, everyone.